Scorpio, they laughed at you. But now they'll be surprised by what's coming. Scorpio, do you feel it? That eerie silence, not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that warns of a storm preparing to rise from beneath your feet. They once feared your silence. But what's coming now? They'll tremble at your rebirth. I'm Elizabeth, your guide here on Esoteric Wisdom, with decades of experience in psychology, astrology, and the subtle art of soul healing. I'm here to deliver what the universe is whispering directly into your bones, because you, Scorpio, are not just going through changes. You are stepping into a resurrection. For months, perhaps even years, you've been misjudged, overlooked, or quietly dismissed. They thought your silence was surrender. But you've been observing, healing, gathering strength in the shadows. And now, April 2025 cracks open a cosmic portal unlike anything you've known. This isn't poetic exaggeration. This is astrology in motion. Pluto, your ruling planet, aligns with Mars and Jupiter in a rare configuration that doesn't just nudge your destiny, it electrifies it. This is your spiritual comeback. And it's about to shake the very foundations of how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. In this video, I'll walk you through what this cosmic alignment means, how to decode the signs the universe is sending you, through dreams, stones, and moments of déjà vu, and how to navigate the rebirth ahead with quiet power. But before we begin, if you feel something stirring already, if you've had vivid dreams lately or felt drawn to deeper truths, trust that it's not random. You're being called. So stay with me, like, comment your experience, and subscribe if your soul resonates. This isn't just another horoscope. This is your invitation to remember who you truly are. Are you ready to awaken what they tried to bury? Chapter 1. The Silence Before the Storm. There's a reason Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, destruction, and hidden power. Your silence, Scorpio, has never been empty. It has always been a space of alchemy. While the world saw your stillness as weakness, you were conducting an inner revolution, quietly dissolving old attachments, dissecting betrayal, and rewiring your soul. You see, most people fear silence because it forces them to hear themselves. But for you, silence is home. It's where you regenerate. It's the cocoon before the wings. And during these last few seasons, you've spent time in that deep cocoon, licking wounds others didn't even know they caused, facing truths that others avoid their whole lives, and learning to breathe underwater when no one even noticed you were drowning. Pluto, your ruling force, has been retrograding and realigning its lessons. Combined with the influence of Mars, your ancient ruler, you've been sitting with fire and shadow at the same time. That's not easy. That's the work of a mystic disguised as a mortal. But here's the cosmic twist. While they dismissed your quiet as defeat, the universe was preparing a rare trine between Pluto, Mars, and Jupiter in April 2025. This is not subtle. It's a celestial ignition point. Mars is reawakening your courage. Jupiter is expanding your path. Pluto is stripping away every last illusion. Together, they're writing a new archetype of Scorpio, one that no longer hides in mystery, but wields it. Have you noticed it already? A shift in your dreams, perhaps more vivid, more prophetic? A strange attraction to black agate or obsidian, as if those stones are whispering secrets to your skin? These aren't coincidences, they're cosmic nudges. This chapter is about recognition, not by others, but by you. It's about realizing that your silence was never about fear. It was about preparation. You weren't retreating, you were incubating. Now, the world is about to meet the version of you that was forged in those invisible fires. And Scorpio, make no mistake, this version doesn't need validation. It commands presence without a word. It shifts energy by entering a room. This is the power of someone who has mastered the underworld and is now rising, not to prove, but to be. Ask yourself, what have I kept hidden because I thought the world wouldn't understand? What emotions have I buried so deep they've become armor? And what part of me is dying to be seen, not as a plea for attention, but as an act of self-resurrection? This is not a comeback. This is an emergence. Chapter 2. The Sacred Codes of April 4-7-1 and the Phoenix Portal. Numbers are not just mathematics, they are cosmic signatures. And in April 2025, Scorpio, the universe is speaking to you in the language of sacred codes, 471. These numbers are not random. They are keys. Keys to unlock the exact vibration you need to rise into your next phase. Let's start with 4, the number of structure, foundation, and grounded transformation. It's the quiet architect of the zodiacal blueprint. For Scorpio, this is the base of your new temple. You've been dismantling old belief systems, outdated loyalties, and inherited pain. Now the energy of 4 says, it's time to rebuild. But not from ego, from truth, your truth. What have you learned from the silence? What kind of life supports your reborn soul? Then there's 7, the number of mysticism, inner wisdom, and divine intuition. You've always had psychic instincts, Scorpio, but now they're being amplified. Not just gut feelings, visions. Have you been waking from dreams with symbols etched into your mind? Have you noticed synchronicities, repeating numbers, songs, names, or memories resurfacing at just the right moment? That's 7 calling. It's the universe's whisper, you're not crazy. You're awakening. And finally, 1, the number of initiation, identity, and new beginnings. Not a surface level, new chapter, but a soul reset. You're no longer who you were, Scorpio. That version of you was necessary for survival. But it cannot come with you into the sacred fire ahead. 1 is your phoenix number. It doesn't just begin. It burns everything that no longer serves and then dares to create with clarity. These numbers are encoded into the energy portal forming this April, triggered by the triple force of Pluto, Mars, and Jupiter, and when aligned with your sign, they activate what ancient astrologers called the Phoenix Protocol, an internal alchemical process unique to Scorpio. It's the transformation not of circumstance, but of essence. During this month, the universe is tuning your frequency like a sacred instrument. You may feel exhausted, emotionally raw, or even euphoric without reason. These are signs of alignment. You're not breaking down, you're cracking open. Scorpio, this isn't a lucky season. This is sacred work. This is ritual in motion. Every pain, every rejection, every tear you didn't cry in public has been part of this rebirth sequence. And now, the portal has opened, not to rescue you, but to remind you, you are your own resurrection. Remember the elements calling to you: black agate for protection, amethyst for divine clarity, obsidian for shadow work. These stones aren't just pretty. They're allies, touchstones, anchors as you navigate your inner phoenix flame. Here's a question only you can answer. If the past no longer defined you, who would you become? Because the numbers say, now is the time to find out. Chapter 3. Facing the Doubters, the Power of Silent Triumph. Scorpio, you remember everything, not out of bitterness, but because your soul is a vault. You've stored every whispered insult, every backhanded compliment, every time someone questioned your worth or reduced your complexity to a stereotype. And for a long time, you said nothing, not because you lacked the words, but because you knew they weren't ready to hear the truth. Not your truth, not yet. But what they didn't realize is this: you weren't shrinking. You were calculating, healing, building power like magma beneath the surface. And now, April 2025, isn't about revenge. It's about revelation. You're going to see the faces of people who doubted you, betrayed you, misunderstood you, but this time, it won't trigger you, because something fundamental has shifted. Their approval is no longer your currency. Their confusion is no longer your burden. You've risen beyond the need to be seen, and that, ironically, is when you'll shine the brightest. This is where the true Scorpio magic emerges, not in loud declarations or dramatic payback, but in the quiet supremacy of being. You don't need to post it, prove it, or pronounce it. You are it. The cosmic configuration this month creates what we call a mirror moment. The universe places you face to face with the old versions of yourself, mirrored in those who still expect you to be who you used to be. It's tempting to explain yourself, to say, look how far I've come. But Scorpio, evolution doesn't argue, it just walks in, and the room changes. Mars, the planet of assertion, is giving you the power to stand your ground. Jupiter, planet of expansion, is saying, don't just forgive. outgrow. And Pluto, your soul's architect, is whispering, they can't follow you here. This path is yours alone. Now here's where healing becomes holy. You're not rising to shame them. You're rising to liberate yourself from them. And in doing so, you become a living example of transformation. Others will look at you and feel something unexplainable, a gravity, a mystery, a presence, and that's because you are no longer fighting for space in the world. You are the space. Ask yourself, what happens when I stop explaining and start embodying? What happens when I walk past the people who once hurt me and feel nothing but calm? That's not numbness, that's mastery. Scorpio, you were never meant to stay in the ashes. You were meant to rise with so much quiet power that even your shadow casts light. This is not the time to clap back. This is the time to ascend. Chapter 4. The 7-Year Path, Becoming the Silent Power. Scorpio, April 2025 isn't just a turning point, it's the beginning of what ancient mystics called the hidden cycle. A 7-year arc of transformation, refinement, and emergence. This is what I call the mystic monarch phase, where Scorpio no longer seeks the throne, but becomes the throne. From 2025 to 2032, you will not just evolve, you will transcend. But not in the way most imagine. There will be no loud arrivals, no declarations of dominance. What's coming is a quiet reign, a path where your presence speaks louder than your words, and your frequency becomes your force. In astrology, Pluto moves slowly, and that's by design. It governs the unconscious, the buried, the primal, and as Pluto dances through the final degrees of Capricorn and edges into Aquarius during this 7-year stretch, Scorpio is being called into mastery. Not the mastery of others, but of self. During this cycle, you'll find your power not in control, but in surrender. Not in prediction, but in perception. You'll see things others miss. Feel things before they happen. You'll understand silence not as absence, but as language. Your relationships will shift dramatically. Some connections will dissolve overnight, no fights, no farewells, just a subtle knowing that they've served their purpose. Others will appear almost magically, souls who speak your frequency without needing explanation. These aren't accidents, they're appointments. Career-wise, this is when Scorpio begins to walk the line between the visible and the invisible. You may be drawn to healing, psychology, esoteric work, leadership roles that don't demand spotlight but carry immense influence, power behind the scenes, authority without noise. The number 7, which governs this cycle, is deeply spiritual. It calls you to step into your higher path, not the path others admire, but the one your soul designed before you arrived here. Think less, climb the ladder, and more, build the temple. You'll be tested, make no mistake. The path of the silent power is not for the faint-hearted. You'll be misunderstood. Again. You'll be underestimated. Again. But this time, it won't matter. Because the difference now is that you know who you are. And that knowing is unshakable. This era is not about collecting accolades. It's about becoming the kind of force that doesn't need them. The kind of energy that alters a room, shifts a conversation, inspires a movement, without raising your voice. So here's your question, Scorpio. Are you ready to lead without demanding to be followed? Because this 7-year path won't give you everything you want, but it will strip away everything you're not, and reveal everything you were meant to become. Welcome to your era of sacred sovereignty. Conclusion. From silence to sovereignty. Scorpio, everything you've endured, the betrayals, the loneliness, the nights you questioned your own strength, was never meant to break you. It was the fire forging something indestructible, your essence. This moment, this video, this cosmic alignment in April 2025, it's not just a reading. It's a recognition of the soul you've hidden, the voice you silenced, the power you've carried in secret. And now, you don't need to fight for your place. You are the place. You are the presence. Your journey is the sacred arc of transformation itself, from pain to perception, from wounds to wisdom. This is not a comeback. This is the moment you walk through the ashes as the phoenix, not to remind them of what they did, but to show them who you've become. So what now? You honor your silence as your strength. You trust your intuition as your compass. You release the need to explain, prove, or chase. Instead, you align. Embody and attract. The world may still underestimate you, Scorpio, but that's not your concern. Because from this moment forward, you no longer rise for them. You rise for you. If this message stirred something deep in your soul, don't hold it in. Like this video, subscribe to Esoteric Wisdom, and let us know in the comments, what signs has the universe been sending you lately? Have your dreams changed? Has your intuition grown louder? You never walk this path alone. And if no one's told you lately, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to transform everything you touch. Let me leave you with this. The phoenix never announces its flight. It simply rises, burning brighter than anything that came before. Now go, carry this fire with grace.